Hello, guys. This is Hani from Education ESA. Welcome to our Maturita series. Today, with my student Christian, we will dive into local environment topic. Hello, Christian.
Hi, Hani. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm super excited to be telling you all about the local environment, as this is one of the Maturita topics. So let's dive right in. So I first wanted to just preface like why this topic, why is this something that is one of the topics for the Maturita exam? Well, as you all know, we all are affected by the environment. So even if you live in a large city like Prague or Brno, or if you live in a very small village, you still feel the effects of the environment. We all play an important part in keeping our environment healthy through our actions and the decisions that we make. And for many of you, that's an important thing to consider for your future job and career as you decide when you start making money to decide like where you want to spend your money or what kind of companies you would want to work for. So what I've done is taken this big idea and kind of broken it down into five smaller categories. And so I know there's a lot of words, but you don't have to worry about like understanding them yet. We're going to go through them. But what I would definitely recommend for the speaking portion of the exam is if you kind of if you break down the big topic into three or four smaller subtopics, it'll make it a lot easier. So the first topic is global warming and climate change. So I'm just going to define those really quick. But global warming is the increase in the Earth's average temperature that we've seen since the pre-industrial period. So this was before like big factories were being built. Um, and it's mostly caused by carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases that when they're released into the air, it makes the Earth warmer. So we hear global warming a lot, but another term we hear a lot is climate change. This is uh, big changes in the temperature and weather patterns, right? So if you're on the way to school or you're driving in the car and you're listening to the radio, they're going to be telling you the weather, right? They're going to tell you maybe it's rainy today, maybe it's sunny today. The difference between weather and climate is that climate is more long term. It's what is usual for the area that you live in. You know, you all here in the Czech Republic have a different climate than somebody that lives in Egypt, maybe. So, just as an example, this is my hometown. I'm from a pretty sunny and warm place close to the beach. And this is pretty recently, right? So, we got a lot of snow, which is not very usual for the climate of where I'm from. So, this is a great example of how we're seeing the climate change in different places throughout the world. Another topic is invasive species. So first, we want to just clarify what is a native species. So that's one term you can use. Native species are just plants and animals that normally occur where you are, right? So maybe take for a second and think about some native plants and animals you might see here in the Czech Republic. A non-native species is exactly the opposite of that. So if I took a camel from Egypt and I put it here in the Czech Republic, that would be a non-native species, right? The camel's not supposed to be here, right? But sometimes animals or plants get brought places and they become invasive. And that means when they do so well, they live so well that they start harming the environment, the economy, and human health. So some examples you might know of are the Sika deer. So maybe you've seen these, or the little nutria rodents that you might see on the riverbanks in your cities or in Prague. Some invasive plants are like giant hogweed. This comes from the Middle East and it can cause these really painful burns on your skin. And then another one is Himalayan balsam. Our next subtopic is pollution, right? So pollution is when we introduce harmful substances into the environment. So there's so many different types of pollution. Some examples are like air, water, the soil or dirt. So Maybe if um, like a car leaks oil and that goes into the dirt. Thermal or heat pollution, where we release heat, plastics, and even radioactive contamination from nuclear work. And some of the biggest proponents of pollution are cars, planes, and factories that emit carbon into the atmosphere. But another huge one um, comes from us, right? So here in the Czech Republic, we burn a lot of our trash, and households also burn wood for heat, which also releases carbon into the atmosphere. And then another special term we can use, which is just a simple combination. It's a combination of two really easy words, but it's called runoff, and it's when rain moves toxic chemicals into our water. So we'll take a look at a picture of this. So on the right, we see a picture of runoff, right, which is where when it rains, it picks up anything that's on like the dirt or the concrete and moves it into our lakes and rivers and streams. Um, and another thing is that we, as people, contribute a lot is single-use plastics. So if I go to the store and I buy a, um, water bottle like this is a single-use plastic, right? Because it's just intended to be used one time. And a lot of these end up in the environment and don't break down. So on the left, we can see this is a picture of the Pacific Ocean, and this is a big collection of plastic that has been, collecting together, and it's three times the size of France. That's how big. That's how much plastic is in our Pacific Ocean. And like I said, we have other types of pollution, whether it be from factories, or even if we do throw our trash away, it has to end up in a landfill, and those landfills aren't always secure. And so different chemicals and things can spread out of the landfill. So another topic we've got is biodiversity. So maybe you've heard that word diversity before, but it just means variety or different, like having a bunch of different things. So biodiversity is how much variety we have on Earth, how many different plants and animals we have. And this helps kind of balance our ecosystems. That's another good word is ecosystem, which is the combination of living and non-living things that we have in nature. So like animals, plants, and dirt and water. Biodiversity is important because it makes all living things more resistant to diseases. So think about like COVID-19, right? Higher biodiversity can prevent things like COVID-19 from happening again in the future. It's also good for the economy and for humans, right? For example, many of the medicines we have come from nature. And so if we keep biodiversity high, we can have more good things to have for ourselves. So here's a little explanation. Of extinctions, that's another good word. Extinction is when a species, so either plants or animals, completely go away, right? And so in history, we've found that there's been five major extinction events. So think about the dinosaurs, right? When the dinosaurs went away, that was one extinction event. However, many scientists believe that we are in a sixth extinction, and this is caused by humans, right? The human impact, or the impact of humans, is causing many, many, many species of plants and animals to go extinct and lowering biodiversity. All right, the last one is natural disasters. So, a natural disaster is any natural event that causes a lot of damage and loss of life to humans and plants and animals. So think of like floods, hurricanes, earthquakes, wildfires, avalanches, blizzards, right? In the Czech Republic, floods are the most common natural disaster. There were big floods in 1997 and 2002. And then we also had a big one this past year in like August, September in 2024. So you can see some pictures from the Czech floods and how intense and severe the damage that they have been. So Good. So those are my subtopics for the general idea of the local environment. But if you run out of, if maybe you're not completely prepared for this idea, you can definitely pull in your knowledge of other Maturita topics to make answering this easier. There's a ton of connected topics, so things like science and technology, animals, human problems, right? Pollution, climate change, those are caused by humans. You can talk about the sixth mass extinction, right, caused by humans. The internet or media. So people use the internet to advocate for the environment, to support different environmental causes, and also to spread information about natural disasters and the environment. Um, Shopping and money, you can definitely talk about the large culture we have as humans to buy new things very often, and uh, participate in fast fashion, where fashion trends are always changing, so we buy new clothes a lot. So that's also, bad for the environment. And then another one, if you have English speaking countries like the US, the UK, or Australia, New Zealand, there's probably a ton of natural disasters you've heard about in the news. So recently we heard about the wildfires in Los Angeles, California. Australia and Hawaii also had big wildfires. Florida, you guys know for its hurricanes, probably. So that's another connected topic. And also, Australia and New Zealand have very high levels of biodiversity or species diversity. So you can talk about how those places are really important for the environment. So just I wanted to take all the vocabulary and put it in just a little review. So that's for your reference later. But these are some definitely really good words that if you brought these out in your Maturita examination, you'd probably be evaluated very highly. So some possible questions you might run into during your examination are questions like, what's the most important environmental issue to you? Have you ever experienced a natural disaster or felt the effects of environmental changes? And what are some ways that you can personally improve the environment? So when we're thinking about how to prepare a response to some of these questions, you can think about what are some daily life changes? What are some things that I can do to be more environmentally friendly? So, can I recycle more? Right? Can I take this plastic water bottle and instead of throwing it in the trash, can I recycle it? Can I go thrifting or buy secondhand clothes? So instead of buying something new from the New Yorker, maybe I can go to the secondhand store in my city and buy a used piece of clothes. Or can I take public transportation, the bus, the tram, the train? Can I do that more often instead of driving a car? Are there any environmental projects you would consider leading or being a part of, whether that's picking up trash, maybe planting some trees, or building birdhouses as habitats for birds? And also think about what are some natural disasters you've seen of in the news. So we just talked about how there's the big wildfires in California, flooding here in the Czech Republic, um, hurricanes in Florida or North Carolina, um, maybe large snowstorms in Northern Europe, things like that. Cool.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Christian, for walking us through this topic. Now let's just pretend that we are, doing that mock maturity and I'm gonna be your teacher and you have just chosen the topic local environment. So what would you tell us?
Yeah. So again, I would definitely start with or kind of break it down into maybe those subtopics. So the first thing I might talk about would be global warming and climate change. Yeah, so the average temperature of the Earth is slowly increasing every year, and this is really scary because our climate is changing. So, for example, places that normally don't get snow are getting a lot of snow. Places that normally don't get a lot of rain are getting a lot of rain, or places that normally get rain are not getting rain, and so plants can't grow for food. And I like to ski, and so obviously you need snow to ski. But the ski season is getting shorter and shorter, right?
Mhm,
We
mhm,
can only ski until maybe January or February, where we used to be able to ski until maybe March or April, right?
mhm,
Um, so yeah, so definitely the climate is changing, and that's a little bit scary.
mhm,
Um, I could also talk about natural disasters. So we've seen how recently in California there was these big wildfires, and a lot of people lost their homes. Um, People had to evacuate; they had to leave,
mhm,
um, and uh, people also lost a lot of their prized possessions, maybe their family photos, things like that. And a lot of the animals and plants died too in the fire.
mhm.
Um, Here in the Czech Republic, it was really scary because, certain towns like Jeseník got completely destroyed because of all the flooding we had caused by, and that was, another natural disaster. And then I probably want to talk about biodiversity next. So biodiversity is this word I recently learned, but it basically means all the different types of plants and animals we have here on Earth. So different countries like Australia and New Zealand have really high levels of biodiversity. Maybe even the rainforest in Brazil have really high biodiversity. Biodiversity is important because it's good for our economy and our money. We get a lot of our medicines from nature. And also, biodiversity helps prevent new diseases. So, COVID-19, don't want that happening again. And so, that if we keep biodiversity up, that would help with that.
That's perfect. Christian, I would have one follow-up question for you, and that's, like maybe if you have that one friend who's gonna ask you, like, I am just one person and if I recycle, it doesn't make any change. How would you convince him that it does make a huge difference even when it's just one person? What would you tell him?
Ooh, that's a really good question. And that is really tough because a lot of people struggle feeling like they don't have any control over the
Mhm,
environment because they're like, oh, I'm just one person. Well, I definitely think one of the most important things is thinking about where you uh, decide to like spend your money. Do
mhm,
you want to support businesses that are thinking about the environment or businesses that aren't? You also, most of you or all of you are 18, so now you can vote, right? So you have a voice as a voter to vote for people that support the environment or vote for laws that are good for the environment.
mhm,
But I think it's also about showing a good example, right? If you recycle and somebody else sees you doing that often, whether it's a family member or another one of your friends, they would be more inclined to recycle as well and take care
mhm.
of the environment because maybe they just don't realize the importance of it. And so that's something that you can tell them about as well.
Mhm. Perfect. Thank you so much. And you guys, you just heard how you can approach this topic about local environment, or if it's called environment, it's the same idea. I also know that this is not the easiest topic, so that's why
Mhm.
Christian kind of put some additional topics that you can link it, if you are more comfortable in the other topics. And Christian and I both wish you a good luck with your Maturita. If you have any questions, please reach out. We are happy to talk to you about your Maturita topic. We're happy to test you or, do the mock Maturita with you. So please let us know and good luck in, what is it, in May. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.